Hello and welcome. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt like you and the other person were speaking completely different languages even though you were using the exact same words? Well, today we're going to dive into exactly why that happens and what we can do about it. It's a universal feeling, isn't it? Happens at work, at home, with your friends. A simple message somehow gets twisted and boom, all of a sudden there's conflict or just total confusion. So why is clear communication so incredibly hard?
In a perfect world, this is what communication would look like. It's a two-way street, right? It's like a dance where we send a message, it gets received, and we work together to build a shared understanding. The key here is that it's a mutual process. But of course, we don't live in a perfect world.
The reality is, our perfectly crafted messages almost never arrive in their pure intended form. Nope, they have to travel through this whole gauntlet of interference. And the main villain in this story is something that communication experts call noise. So what exactly is this noise? It's definitely not just about sound. Experts break it down into four distinct types that can really mess up our conversations: physical, physiological, semantic, and psychological. Let's take a closer look at each one. All right, first up is the one we're all familiar with, physical noise. This is any kind of external distraction in your environment. I mean, are you trying to have a serious conversation while there's a jackhammer going off outside? Or maybe you're on a phone call with a terrible connection that keeps cutting out. Yeah, that's physical noise, making it literally hard to even hear the message. Next, we move from the world outside to the world inside our own bodies. This is physiological noise. This is when your own body is creating static on the line. Maybe you've got a pounding headache, or you're just exhausted, or maybe you have a hearing impairment. Any of these things, your physical state, can absolutely stop you from fully receiving or even sending a clear message. Oh man, this next one, this is where so many arguments get started. Semantic noise. It happens when we attach totally different meanings to the very same words. Think about a simple phrase like, "We need to be more transparent." For a manager, that might mean sharing more data in reports. But for an employee, it might mean having a real say in big decisions. You're using the same words, but you're talking about completely different things. And this is where it gets really, really tricky. Think about words that carry a ton of emotional weight for you personally. Words like respect, loyalty, or fairness. The second those words enter a conversation, the chance of a misunderstanding just skyrockets, because your definition is all tangled up with your personal history and your core values. And finally, we have what might just be the most common barrier of them all: psychological noise. This is basically the loud conversation happening inside your own head. If you're stressed about a deadline, or maybe you're still angry about something that happened this morning, or you're just plain biased against the person speaking, you're not really listening. Your own internal attitudes and emotions are drowning out the actual message. So, okay, we've got these four types of noise that are constantly getting in the way. But what if I told you there's another, even more powerful barrier that we carry with us into every single conversation? This is what we call our personal filter. Your filter is built from everything you've ever been through: your childhood, your culture, your education, your past wins and losses. It is the lens through which you see and interpret absolutely everything. So here's the crucial part. You don't actually hear what someone says. You hear what your lifetime of experience tells you they said. And this just shows you the effect perfectly. A manager might give some direct feedback, something like, "This report needs more data." They just mean it as simple, helpful advice. But an employee who had a super critical boss in the past, they might hear, "You failed, your work isn't good enough." All because of their personal filter. The message gets completely transformed. Okay, so communication is a minefield. It can feel a little hopeless, right? But it's not. The good news is, once we actually understand these barriers, we can start to build strategies to get around them. We can learn how to build bridges instead of walls. The single most important first step you can take is to just accept this one truth. Let go of this fantasy of perfect communication. Because when you go into a conversation assuming that misunderstandings are possible or even likely, you approach it with so much more patience and curiosity. You're just more willing to clarify. All right, our first strategy is all about how you send the message. Before you speak or hit send on that email, just pause and ask yourself, is this person going to understand the words I'm using? What's the best way to actually reach them? Is it a quick text, or do we need a face-to-face chat for this? Just thinking through these things can prevent so many problems before they even begin.
Now, this one's for when you're on the receiving end. Listening isn't passive, it's an active skill. You've got to show you're engaged with your body language. But the most powerful tool in your listening toolkit? Paraphrasing. Simply saying, "So what I think I'm hearing you say is," that one little phrase can clear up a million misunderstandings. It forces you to check your interpretation against what they actually intended to say.
This is where we go to battle with that personal filter we talked about. Before you react to what someone says, just take a beat, a brief pause, and ask yourself, what assumptions am I making right now? Is my reaction based on what's happening in this conversation, or is it about some past experience? Seriously, just becoming aware of your own biases is a communication superpower. And finally, you have to make communication a true two-way street, a real dialogue. You can do this by explicitly asking for feedback. Say things like, "Does that make sense?" Or, "I'd love to hear your perspective on this." When people feel safe enough to disagree with you or ask for clarification, you create this amazing system that catches misunderstandings early and often. So there you have it. You now understand the different kinds of noise, you're aware of your own personal filter, and you have 4 real, concrete strategies you can start using today. This is your toolkit for navigating the tricky world of human communication and starting that journey from constant misunderstanding towards something that looks a lot more like mastery. And that brings us to the final and, honestly, the most important question. Think about your week ahead. Is there a tough conversation you've been putting off? A meeting you're worried about? Or maybe a person you just seem to always misunderstand? Just think, what one tool from today could make all the difference in that one conversation? Thanks for joining me.